when you're trying to decide the voice of the book, it can be challenging because some of these things, happened long before I was ever a thought. Some of these things happened before my mother was born. So just to try to understand John Africa and who he was and why he decided to start this organization, you going back to the 30s, you know what I mean? In the 40s, and so like it's it can be a little tricky trying to figure out how to find the voice. But the way we decided to tell it was through the way it actually happened. So here's the story. I was told this. My mother told me this. From the writings of John Africa, I read this. And so I'm just telling it from my voice as if I'm telling the reader, my experience as it happened. Move was much like the Black Panther Party, much like Malcolm X, much like Dr. King, just a bunch of people that saw issues in society that they wanted to do something about. And the threat is that the people that run the system don't want to see those changes made. Right now, if we start talking about qualified immunity and the issue of police brutality and the things that needed to be changed, instead of recognizing that there needs to be a change in the police department and the way things are made, they will the police will counter our complaints with the blue line that goes across their license plates and their police shields. And so their reaction to our response based on the threat that we are facing every day, is why the organization existed in the first place. And so Move's belief was that the system is wrong and that it needs to be destroyed, not something that you could work through, but something that needed to be destroyed, because it's the same system that created slavery. It's the same system that put animals in cages and jails. It's the same system that pollutes the water, and it can't be worked through to be improved. So with that information and exposing that information to other people around the community and gaining numbers and gaining traction, and then setting an example to prove that you don't need the system. There was all kind of issues that the system felt, that the city of Philadelphia felt that they needed to get involved and shut the organization down, just like Dr. King, just like the Black Panther Party, just like Malcolm X. I saw the smoke as it billowed up into the sky. To see it, I mean, it was a government thing. This wasn't something that was decided on the fly. The government planned to drop a bomb. They were testing the C4 they were using up to a year before they actually dropped that bomb on Move's house. And there's all kind of evidence to talk about this. There's documentation. We found out about that information because they delivered that information to us during the commission hearings following the bombing and the aftermath. It was a complete conspiracy. The people that were involved in it were military trained, and they were former military personnel. Leo Brooks was the managing director, but he was brought in from the Pentagon. And his job before he was the managing director of Philadelphia was he was a brigadier general in the military. And Gregor Sambour, who was the police commissioner at the time, he was a Korea War veteran and a general in the Vietnam War. And so when you think about the weaponry that was used on Move, on those people, on those children, we're talking about military grade weaponry, M16s, armor piercing anti-tank guns, 50 caliber machine guns. They had every type of weapon that you use in war at the time, including C4. And so, yeah, this is not something that police departments just have readily available in their locker rooms. These are weapons that they use the military and FBI type calibers to equipment to bring in to destroy Move. 11 people were in the house at the time, and the bomb ignited a fire, and the fire was allowed to burn by the fire commissioner. And as the people tried to escape the burning house, they were shot by the awaiting police. 5 of those people that were shot were kids, ages from as old as 14 to as young as 9. And the aftermath, the collateral damage is still being we are still feeling the effects of that right now today. Well, just as recently as 2021, we discovered that at least 3 of the children that were burned alive were used as research material by Penn Museum. Their bodies were stolen by Janet Monge, an anthropology professor, and Alan Mann, who was a forensics anthropologist. And their body was used as research material and fundraiser material at Penn Museum. And also Princeton played a part in that, where they had the bones on display and used in a Coursera course where their bones were taught to over 5,000 students. And they made YouTube videos without consent of the parents or the loved ones of these girls. And so this is ongoing. And then, and as part of that process, there were investigations digging deeper into what happened on May 13th and how the medical examiner's office of Philadelphia labeled the death of the people as accidental. And recently, after 38 years of that certificate saying accidental, the medical examiner's office changed the cause of death to homicide by violence.